This one email closed 3 clients at $2,000 per month each for my digital marketing agency. This was probably one of the most powerful emails that we ever sent. It was straight to the vendors at a conference. It sold in the chiropractic space. It was super powerful. It worked really, really well. It's a 3-part sequence, but to be honest with you, the bulk of the clients came from that very first email. So it's the one you should pay most attention to. And I'm going to explain, I'm going to take you through and I'll explain how it was written, why things were in certain places, and take you through the process that we run. So first of all, the email process and the sequence itself. So looking at the strategy, I wanted to target a specific seminar as a point of reference for each of these prospects. And it also proves a willingness to invest in marketing. So really what I'm looking for, we used something called a seminar called the Parker Seminar. It was in Vegas, and it's essentially a conference where vendors that sell to chiropractors, they purchase a booth just like any conference, and then all the attendees are chiropractors that want to expand their clinic essentially, right? But all of these vendors, they invest in a booth which can cost like $5,000-$10,000 at times to be there, to then bring in more chiropractors as clients for their own. They could sell things like laser tables. They could sell, things like office refits. They could sell certain training packages to them. They could sell products that the chiropractor then sells wholesale in their clinic. So they're trying to sell to chiropractors. So what we did was we targeted that particular seminar and then used that seminar as our customization and our personalization within the email. So it worked really, really well, because if I'm sending them an email about a seminar saying, I noticed you were at this seminar, obviously because of the vendor list, I noticed you were at this seminar, that's going to catch their attention because they want a return on their investment from the seminar. So they're going to open the email and they're going to read it, right? The difference is we're obviously transforming that into helping them get more clients. We know they're interested in getting more clients or they wouldn't have been at the seminar. We're going to get their attention by mentioning the seminar in our email. And that's why it worked really, really well. This was also small batch. So if you're looking to send email campaigns for your agency, work in really, really small batches. This one was hyper personalized with 120 recipients. We're not sending thousands of these. It was 120 recipients, and it was very personal for each of those recipients. The more personalized you can make your outbound prospecting, the better your results are going to be. So what you're going to see in the market now is a big shift towards people who hire appointment setters. Typically, if you've come across the term appointment setter before, what it normally means, or I don't want to say traditionally because it's only been around in this context for maybe the last 2-3 years, but usually an appointment setter, the way they view it is they'll add people on Facebook and they'll add maybe 30 people per day. They'll reach out to every person and basically spam them, do cold messaging and just kind of spam them, right? Used to work, doesn't really work now, to be honest with you. You've probably received messages like this yourself. If your Facebook profile says anything about a business, you've probably received these messages. What works now is if you send outbound prospecting emails that are extremely personal for that particular individual. Now, this has been around for 5-6 years now, but the level of personalization is getting more and more and more and more as the years go by. Now, instead of having this work completely on autopilot every single day, what you should do is you should have a manual part of the process, which I'm going to show you in a few minutes. Have a manual part in the process where it can be hyper personalized. That doesn't mean the typical personalization like I like your website or I like this project you've done in the past. No one really cares about that. We want it to be super personal. So for this one, it was a really small sample list of 120 recipients, all of which went to this conference, all of which had a booth at this conference. So it was super personalized for that specific market. Couldn't do that on a mass scale, right? So it was super personalized. Another example would be if that prospect, let's say on their LinkedIn profile, that prospect had spent time in Japan, right? They lived in Michigan, but they spent 3 years in Japan, in Tokyo, working. But it was on their LinkedIn profile. We would actually have an appointment setter mention that in their prospecting because it gets their attention every time. So we're going granular with it. You've got to go super hyper personalized and it'll work a lot better for you. And that's what's working now. The more personalized you go, the better your results are going to be. Now, in terms of the expense, this campaign cost me about $100 in total for software and a lead list from the conference. Not a lot of money, especially with $6,000. It was $6,000 in monthly recurring revenue as well. So those clients did stick with us. I think they stuck with us for a lot because I remember the 3 clients really, really well. and one of them even flew in to visit us from Los Angeles. So they were really, really good clients. I think they probably stayed around for like 9 to 18 months actually. So we made a lot of money from that $100 invested. And then obviously they got bigger. We service small businesses, and their businesses started to get bigger. And it was no longer viable for us to actually service because we didn't have the capabilities. It was beyond our reach. So that's why that happened. But really what we're looking at is a huge return on investment for that $100 expense. Now, obviously, to summarize, it was 3 new clients from 120 prospects. We booked 5 sales calls in total from the vendor list from 120, and we closed 3 clients at $2,000 per month each. One of them was actually $2,500, but for the sake of even numbers, averaged about $2,000 per month each. This is the process that we run. It's a very specific process and allows us to do hyper personalization, but as close to autopilot as we can possibly get. And this process works like a production line, right? It cycles over and over and over again. And this is a process that you should pause the video and actually take in depth. And you should use this process because it works really, really well. So first of all, we've got to pick our target market, so a specific target market. And then we want our data scraper. You can use software. We primarily use a list builder because the data is a better quality, and it usually costs us 20 cents per name, roughly around about there. So it's really good data though. And I like to target from a specific source. So as much as you can go target chiropractors, let's say in the US, I like to have context towards it. So for example, a conference of sorts, or maybe one of the methods I used before that worked really well was in the auto body market, auto body shops where the, detail cars and such. Instead of going for auto body detailers across the US, what we did was we went for any dealership that sold Ceramic Pro, which was like a ceramic coating. It's a brand of ceramic coating, and they have their vendors. All they're independent. They're not franchisees, but it's almost like a franchisee, right? Because it's just a product they sell. But they have all their vendors, the license holders, in the US on a map. So we pulled the list of information, we pulled their email addresses, we targeted them in particular, and we mentioned Ceramic Pro in the email copy, and it worked really well. So you can see the correlation between the more personalized and more precise I get, the better the results. I'm not looking to send mass emails here. I want to be very, very precise with what I do because it's going to improve the results. So we get a list from software, or we get a list from a list builder, and they pass that to an appointment setter or a virtual assistant. Either or works. They do the same thing. And they pass, so the lead list is passed to the VA, and the VA then gets a small specific data on and personalizes it for each prospect. So I'm not sending them a list of 1,000 people. I'm sending them a list of 30, 40, 50. And I want them to be granular with it. I want them to take their time every day getting information about that prospect, because the better the information, the better our results on the back end. So they're going through the list every day that they're provided with, and they're provided a list per day, and they're getting information on the prospects, and they're beside that lead, they're using a personalization column in the spreadsheet, and they're looking into LinkedIn profiles, which the list builder gives us, and building that personalization. This process repeats itself every single day. So the list builder passes the list to the VA personalizes and uploads to the software. Repeats every single day, because once we get to the software part, it works on autopilot. So that works really, really well, and they can continually do that every single day, rain or shine. Once the VA has completed the personalization, they upload the spreadsheet to the software, right? So they're uploading that entire list with all the personalization and a separate column to the software. Then we want to create market-specific email sequences. So I want to be very precise with my email sequences. I want to mention the market. I'm going to take you through a sequence and show you, but I want to mention the market and be precise. And I want to use merge tags to be able to put that prospect's name, their company, and also the personalization into the email. Then we upload to the platform, the sequence to the platform, and set it to launch, and it starts the sequence, right? And then it starts, sends email 1. If the prospect responds, great. Well, the virtual assistant or appointment setter responds back to the prospect to book that appointment in. If the prospect doesn't respond, it goes on to email 2. And if they respond, the VA works to book the appointment, or the setter works to book the appointment. If they don't respond again to email number 2, they get email number 3. And if they respond, they're taken out of the sequence automatically. And again, if they respond to email number 3, the setter works to book the appointment. You can also use a fourth email if you want to. You don't have to, but you can if you want to. Fourth email is a bit of a holy, a Hail Mary. It might work, might not. It just depends. The bulk of your appointments are going to come from emails 1, 2, or 3. Mostly 1, to be honest with you. Then with that particular, so that's one set of lead lists. Obviously, they're pushing more leads through this process every single day. But once that first lead list gets through the sequence, we take anybody who didn't respond and we wait a month. Right? We don't send them straight back through a different sequence. We wait 30 days, let it build up the energy again, and then we create a new sequence with different email copy, upload it to the platform and launch, and go through the sequence once again so we can recycle the data. Obviously, we don't want to send the same email sequence. We want to refresh the sequence from a different angle, because if it didn't work the first time, the chances are it's not going to work the second time. So we want to hit it from a different angle and make sure that it's fresh and they're receiving a new sequence. And that's it. That process works over and over and over again. We add new data every day into the system, and it works really, really well. But the secret behind all of this is low volume, super hyper personalization, and it works really, really well. So let's have a look at the emails themselves. This is the first email, the email that booked the most amount of appointments. So like I said, it was a Parker seminar. They're companies selling products or services to chiropractors, like e-commerce wholesale products they can sell in their clinics, training programs, lasers, advanced tables, and so on. So email 1. So the subject line was about Six Group and the company merge tag. Hi, John. Let's say I saw you at the Parker seminar. I was interested in chatting about the business products. So the products for chiro offices. I think patients would love the products. Nice work. My name. So in terms of personalization, we didn't go too deep with this because it came from the seminar. The seminar is enough in the scenario. If they don't have a commonality between them, so they didn't say that you didn't get the list from a seminar, you would go a bit more personal into their personal backgrounds. Remember, people don't care about the professional background that much. They care about their personal, their experiences. So that person living in Japan, not working, but living in Japan is where I want to focus on. So my name is Niall and I run the Six Group. We work with medical companies, helping them bring in sales appointments with chiropractors every single day, leaving cold calling and lunch and learns in 2019. So lunch and learns are something that is quite specific to the medical market. They'll take the doctor out for lunch and basically pitch them over lunch. That's how that works. Our process directly targets chiropractors across the US using outbound prospecting, content marketing, and paid advertising. It qualifies the clinic with specific questions, including revenue, and nurtures the prospect on autopilot with automation. The result, we book qualified calls into your calendar with chiropractors every week, giving you the opportunity to close a new account. I'd love to do the same for you. Might have us send over a few times for a quick call. Thanks, Now, P.S. Our process directly educates chiropractors about your product and books them into your calendar. This can be scaled up or down to suit your requirements and goals. So it's a really short, snappy email, gets the point across, and it worked really, really well. The one important part is this leaving cold calling and lunch and learns in 2019. That's a pain point for them. So you want to build a pain point into this copy. So if you want to use this copy, just cater it to the pain points of that your particular market, and obviously focus on being quite concise with what you provide to them. You don't want to go on and on and on. You'd be quite concise with it. Focus on the outcome of resolving that pain, and it'll work really, really nicely. The second email is really simple. Hey John, I'm sure you're busy. I just wanted to make sure my email from the other day didn't get lost in the mail. Looking forward to hearing from you now. So it just helps bump up the email in the inbox. And then the final email number 3. Hi John, I wanted to let you in on a couple of the key strategies we use when targeting chiropractic offices. As you probably know, chiropractors themselves have a love-hate relationship with marketing. They can't get enough of it. It's also the reason why they're so receptive to marketing directed to them. I'll let you in on the infrastructure of the strategy we used for an example, who integrate laser weight loss machines into chiro offices. The first step is to target engaging content to chiropractors using Facebook and Instagram. Your target lead cost here should be about $10 per chiro. Now, here's where the magic happens. If you try to call an interested chiro, one of two things happen. They're either with patients and you miss the call, or are in between appointments and are very defensive. So the chances are they've probably experienced both of these things. That's why they're putting them in as pain points. The secret is to send them text messages when they request more information. This breaks down their barriers instantly and engages them. Look for a 52% response rate here. You can then easily qualify and schedule a sales call, warming them up beforehand. Let's leave the cold calls and lunch and learns in 2019. If you want more information on the strategy above, let's have a quick chat. Let me know when you're free for 15. Have a great day. Now, so this free for 15 is important. I always want to ask them for 15 minutes, not 30, not 60, not just a call. Give it some time, because 15 minutes is a low barrier to entry. It's a low time commitment. It's a low investment. They'll come on. It's a quick cup of coffee, right? They'll come on. If they don't like it, they can go. If they do, they can stay. So it's a low ask for it. And I'm giving them value first here. I'm letting them in on a little bit of information to get a little bit excited, and then work on them too. If you're interested, if this kind of resonated with you and you're interested, let me know. If you're free for 15 minutes, and I'll explain how it works. And that's it. That was the sequence. That sequence worked incredibly well. It's a sequence we rinse and repeat all the time. This is something, if you're trying to get your first client, if you are trying to scale, you're trying to get to the point where you can run paid ads using things like the ladder funnel, but you want to build a strong foundation of lead generation, this is a system you should use. Use this entire framework. It works beautifully. Just make sure you have a massive focus on hyper personalization, and make it good personalization. Don't half cut it. Do it properly. Focus on it, because it makes the biggest difference. If you like this content and it resonates with you, you want more of this content, like the video and subscribe to the channel. Always does a huge favor, because it helps me know which content you like, which content I should produce more of. And of course, it supports the channel and helps me really identify how I can best deliver information and value to you as a subscriber and as a viewer of our video. So any questions, just let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.